Here we are working through another question on the certified Q&A for the Google Cloud Platform Associate Cloud Engineer. It's very important to the process of understanding Google Cloud and passing the certification exam that you go through the question and attempt answering it yourself first. So pause the video, work through the question. We'll catch up in just a little while and I'll show you how I do it. In this scenario, you've developed a new application or app engine and you're ready to deploy it to production. You need to estimate the cost of running your application on Google Cloud Platform as accurately as possible. Which of these four options should you choose? In looking at the question, the key part is just to estimate the cost and to figure out how to do it in the easiest and recommended way possible. Let's look at each of the options. Option A suggests we create a YAML file with the expected usage, then pass this file to the gcloud app estimate command to get an accurate estimation. So, is there a gcloud app command? Yes, there is, and it is used to manage app engine deployments. But is there a gcloud app estimate subcommand? For all the services and solutions that are there, is there always an estimate subcommand? What about solutions and what about production deployments that are going to use a mix of all these services? Are we going to be running a gcloud compute estimate? Are we going to run a gcloud BigQuery estimate? Just reasoning through it logically, it seems unreasonable that we are going to be doing this for each individual solution. In looking at the docs, you will also see that there just isn't an option called gcloud app estimate. But even if you didn't know that, you can come to the conclusion that this is possibly just unreasonable. So we can eliminate A. What about B? B suggests you multiply the cost of your application when it was in development by the number of expected users to get an accurate estimation. So it's saying that, let's say you're developing with 10 people in your team and your cost came to say $1,000. Now, if you have 100,000 users, then you just multiply that number and you will come up at the total cost. But this again doesn't seem reasonable. On what basis are we keeping track of development costs? What about networking costs? When we are doing development, ideally we are going to keep it in a very small area and we are not going to incur a lot of networking costs. Whereas our users might be spread all over the world. We are also going to have costs on load balancing and DNS, which might not be something that you try out during development itself. Or you might do it, but it's going to be a much smaller fraction after a core part of the development is over. When you're doing development and testing, you're also likely to do a lot of creating a lot of machines, then tearing them down, trying out something to that create machines, again tear them down, and this goes on over and over again. And the cost structure for that might be different from when you run something in production, often continuously. You might even get automatic discounts when you run something continuously as opposed to every once in a while. Also, when you are doing either development or testing, your usage is likely to be very light and localized depending on few users, whereas you're typically expecting way more users when in production use. So in considering this, the cost during development is unrelated to what you should see during production. And therefore, just extrapolating what you spent during development is not a good way to estimate your production costs. We are going to eliminate option B also. How about option D? That we create a ticket with Google Cloud Billing support to get an accurate estimation. Google Cloud Billing support does not necessarily take this up as a task. It would overwhelm their team if they had to respond to every request asking them to estimate what would be the cost of deploying something in production. And these estimates are going to be changing all the time. Right? You try something and you say, okay, I intend to put 10 machines. And then you say, oh, you know what, we want to do 20 machines. Another time we want to reduce the machines. Are we going to raise a new billing support ticket each time? It just wouldn't work that way. It wouldn't be feasible for Google Cloud Billing Support to do that for free. And if it was paid, you wouldn't be able to. I mean, it wouldn't be where you want to spend your money. The question now is there a method that you can use yourself without reaching out to Google Cloud Billing Support? Option C suggests to use the pricing calculator for App Engine to get an accurate estimation of the expected charges. So the question here is there something called a pricing calculator? And since this question requires us to do App Engine, it says use the pricing calculator for App Engine. So if there is something for App Engine or for any of the others, this should be a reasonably good option. So let's look at if there is such a thing, and a quick search reveals that you can look for the Google Cloud Platform Pricing Calculator, which allows you to experiment with various loads and various kinds of resources, and which will give you an estimate of how much it is likely to cost you. You can do that for almost all the services like Compute Engine, App Engine, Kubernetes Engine, so on and so forth. And you can also do it at a granular level where you say within Compute Engine, I intend to put up, say, all G1 smalls or N1 standards. We intend to have so much bandwidth usage, so much data ingress, so much data going out. And we are able to make an estimate based on all of this using all these different smaller estimates and collect them into something for the entire project. So option C is easy, straightforward, is a built-in solution, and is the recommended option that allows you to independently estimate costs for what you should expect to see in deployment. That gives us option C as the right answer, and we can mark off all the rest as wrong. What are the key learnings that we should take away from this? One, generally, Google wants to provide you tools that will help the developers and users independently perform tasks. As much as possible, you should be able to find things on your own than reach out to Cloud Billing Support. Right? They would like to reduce the load on the support team. So usually look for solutions or options that allow you to be independent. Almost never, or rather very rarely, would contacting support be a recommended approach. Ideally, this would be for escalations in the system. Maybe systems are down or you're witnessing something that just does not seem right. At that point, you can probably raise a support ticket. There is also a free support, and there's also going to be paid support. So if you're going to have some of the paid support which costs more, you might get much faster response. But for the most part, again, the idea is to look for tools that make you independent rather than reaching out to support team. In terms of getting hands-on and practice, go ahead and try out the pricing calculator. It's very easy to use and easy to estimate what your deployment cost should be. This is also going to be very useful for your management and your CFO and your CEO to figure out how much should be the expected spend for a particular deployment, which allows them to plan budgets. So try this out for sure, and I will leave you with the reference for the pricing calculator. Well, how are you going to inform others of this super GCP content? Just one way: like it, share it, let them get to know of it, and you subscribe.